Cześć, bardzo mi miło, że włączyliście kolejny odcinek podcastu Nie Tylko Pytania. Dzisiejszy odcinek się różni od większości, dlatego że będzie po angielsku, więc uwaga, przełączamy się na angielski. Możecie jeszcze wyłączyć, jeżeli nie znacie angielskiego. Hello, my guest today is Kateryna Pustovit. She's a Ukrainian. You are a political scientist, grad, and you are also a volunteer and activist. You don't sleep much because you do a lot.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, you just said that to me before we started recording because you also work in Poland. And so today I will try not to make too many jokes because I usually do them on my podcast. I wanted to talk about Ukraine and about the war and about the situation. So do you want to start with anything before I ask the questions?
I think jokes are okay because this war is already absurd, and even when you check like Ukrainian news more, like we are having conversations about Russian soldiers who are fighting with the monument of the tank. We are talking about the stolen tanks by farmers, and actually right now we have, as I remember last check, we have 26 or 46 more tanks that we had at the beginning of the war. So that's completely fine to, sense of humor and sarcasm, that the thing that helps us to survive.
Yeah, it's absurd in two ways, I think. One, the war itself, why? There's no reason to start the war by the Russians. And the second thing is how bad their army is, and also how great your army is. It wasn't expected to be so, successful.
By talking about army, how Russian bad army, do you talk about their moral values or about their idiocracy?
Both.
Both, okay.
Both, yeah.
Yes. I was also, honestly speaking, surprised about the idiocracy because at the beginning, when you check news and simply saying like you're watching videos, again, as of the stolen, actually my future tattoo is something I decided to make a tattoo after the war. I want to make a tank here. And, a truck, and how it's stolen.
Okay.
That's, I think that's going to be like, I'm also thinking about, my children, for example, and they will go to school, and they will study 2022. And I'm really sorry what they're going to study. In which day of the war, lady from Obolon, let's say, with the canned food throw this helicopter,
something,
a drone, yes, something that
might some pickles or something.
Yes, actually, that was a really important case because at the beginning they thought that it was tomatoes, but this lady said that I'm incredibly sorry, but first of all, it was pickles. Second of all, the most important, give me back my can. Coming back to the idiocracy, Russian soldiers, most of them, they don't know what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
So first, they're not trained. Ukraine, something that, for example, West forgets. We have a lot of trained people. It's not today's war. It's a war for past 8 years. And we were shouting about this, but nobody listened. But yes, we have a lot of prepared, and comparing our army from 2014 and something that is today, it's well-trained people. And then in morals, let's say in our values, in our heads, we are not fully surprised. This is something that most of people expected. And it's something like we were denying it, we didn't want it, but still, deep down, we knew that it's going to happen. Yeah. We didn't know the level that it's going to be happen. Again, we're still trying to think of that is 2022. We recently had Yugoslavia, and usually the conflicts that were happening geographically here were frozen conflicts again, about ignoring the case of the Russia. Russian behavior is expected. They had several of frozen conflicts, Georgia, or the first scenario of Transnistria, Pridnestrovia. Also, like it's forgotten, but it's still there.
Yes.
We have to remember also about Chechnya. Wasn't that a while ago? Like everyone again forgets about Chechnya, but that was a bloody war.
Yeah, it was extremely bloody.
Annexation of Crimea, Donbass. So, of course, why Putin attacked? It's like when we study history of dictatorships, every dictatorship, they're different, but they still all have the similar pattern. One of these patterns that they think they're gods. Why we have president have to be for a while? Like why the president have to be 4 or maximum 8 years? Because then he thinks that he's a god, that he's imperator, that he's a tsar or whatever, and we remember it in history. Usually it doesn't end well. We had a couple of thousands years to learn it, but probably not everyone got their lesson quite well. So with Putin, last 2 years, he wasn't appearing in, let's say he was appearing in media, but he wasn't appearing in people, like in people's faces. Like usually, like there's a legend, and I honestly believe in that legend. He's sitting in his bunker, not using the phone, not using the internet, receiving everything that in East Europe we call it in the paper. So there's coming guys who are literally scared of him. And it's a corrupted country. Like everyone steals everything. Like we also have to like, of course, on the paper, army is amazing, but it's Russian paper. It's like you write there whatever you want. Yeah. So there's those heads with big houses who want to keep their asses and also they don't want to be killed. They're coming here, bringing on a paper how amazing Russian army, how everyone are waiting. Ukrainians are just sitting and waiting like Russian troops. So I think that one of the problems of this situation that there's a huge gap of reality and Russian elites. They're living in our own unicorn world.
Yeah.
With this unicorn about the great Russian army, about again this Ukrainians, about Nazis or drug addicts who are like everywhere here. I know that's completely fine. Yeah. Like I was recently even talking not with a friend, but I have a friend. She's originally from Moscow. And she has a brother, and the brother is in Russia. And he said, even if they would be fucking Nazis and they would love to use heroin, why the fuck in this universe I have to fight for that? They enjoy their time. They decided to elect those drug addicts or whatever. Why I should go to the place where I don't even know where is it? Like, so I think that first, like then Putin's situation is really not good. And his elite's also not good. Case of Navalny, like we wouldn't even start talking about Navalny because for Navalny we have to have 2 or 3 other podcasts. Yeah. But still, the situation wasn't bad. This Belarus crisis, which also affects Russia. And in the meantime, we have Ukraine, which is saying, we don't like you guys. We don't like this dictatorship. We like to change presidents. Not even like, usually we're not even always waiting for elections. Sometimes we're in the middle. No, go away. We need a new one. And so there's like, this group of old-fashioned Soviet Union leaders who are watching in this democracy. I wouldn't say that Ukraine is a perfect democracy, no. But we're trying to do our best.
Yeah. And it's improving a lot.
It's improving, yes. Even compare, like for me, a funny comparison, looking at our politicians, it's young, ambitious guys who have a smartphone and they're like, it's a war, but they're making a video and talking to to us, they're talking to European media. It's real people. Meanwhile, Russian politics, they remind me, we all, like Eastern European listeners, they remember the history of Soviet Union, those perfect guys who are talking with ideology. They weren't even real. It's the guys who are like opening the paper and quoting Lenin for next 70 years.
Yeah.
It looks the same.
Yeah, it looks... very ingenuine, like with Zelensky, he's one of the reasons probably why he's so good at communication is because he was an actor, a comedian, and I like comedians in this podcast. By the way, you used to be a comedian, a stand-up comedian too.
I just prefer to say that I'm funny and annoying. That's it.
Funny and annoying. That's a trait of a comedian. The Russians also, when you're talking about Putin, is that people are afraid to tell him the truth. And he is afraid to meet people because he's so afraid of COVID. And he doesn't talk almost to anyone.
Actually, with this COVID thing, I was like watching some analysts. He's scared to be poisoned. This typical paranoia of most of dictators that he's scared to be really poisoned or beaten or whatever. Then you've seen his face is so fully in Botox that maybe he's like scared that somebody will touch him and he'll poof like a balloon. So that could be. Anyway, he's schizophrenic, and the guys around him, they're not that far. They're, let's say, the guys who are scared of schizophrenic. In Ukraine, like, there's a lot of talks that probably inside Russia, somebody will kill Putin. I don't really believe in that. Somebody killed Hitler.
Yeah.
Somebody killed Stalin. And we have a huge list. So, no. Even, let's say, with the last Tsar, the last emperor of Russia. Who killed him? Bolsheviks. Not his surrounding. I would even say that story repeats, and every time, like, it's interesting because the story repeats, and mostly we don't learn. And successful countries are usually the countries who learned the lesson quite well. Like, let's say, Sweden. We have been empire. That was a cool time. Now, different times, let's build democracy. They're actually one of those states who said thank you and goodbye to their empire past. Yeah. Meanwhile, with this war in Ukraine, Western analytics are trying to find rationale in that. I don't believe in rationale. I think this war is a metaphysic war. So there's a long story of Ukraine and Russia. Even when we listen to their speeches about this fucking brotherhood, I am not your brother, stop talking about that. So yes, they're like, Ukraine, my favorite one, it's our small brother. Why small?
Yeah.
I'm, first of all, okay, small brother. We're the oldest brother.
Yeah, you're the parents of Russia.
We created you idiots. Yeah. Our language is original, and your language is like a mixture and creation, actually from funny story, like for Polish people. When Ukrainian person talks to Belarus person, we understand each other. Yeah. When Polish person talks to Ukrainian person to Belarus person, we understand three of each other. Why only Russians don't understand us? Does anyone have doubts about their language? I'm sorry, I don't want to go really deep, but there's like, even when we talk with Czech people, we kind of can understand each other in some way.
Yeah, if they speak slowly, yeah.
In this group, we have only one problem. Russians, they don't understand any of us. Polish people cannot understand Russians because it's a completely different language, but we can understand Ukrainians.
Yeah, that's much easier.
So there's a problem about the big brother.
Yeah, I don't know how the language evolved, so yeah, but it's much more difficult for me to understand Russian than Ukrainian, of course. But when you're talking about the metaphysical war, yeah, I think so, because people think, okay, so what are the goals of Putin? And they are not the goals that we would think of as goals, and also when we think, the Westerners, like I include Poland and Ukraine, when we think about a good country is a country where people are happy and there's freedom and people are at least a bit rich, and that's a good country, and where it's nice to be, and where the parks are beautiful. But when Russians think about a good country, they think it's strong, that people fear it, and that the fate of the people doesn't count as much as the strength of the country, which is a stupid thing, a very evil thing also.
Evil sometimes is like a very smart word. No, idiocratic. I would continue with that.
Idiocratic.
Yes, even like in future, like I was thinking that in 10 years, there will be some Tarantino who will decide to make a movie about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, there will be a lot of guys in Hollywood who will decide to make a movie about that. When they make a movie about the World War II, and we have idea of a Nazi German soldier, so it's like evil, intellectual bastard. Mm-hmm. How they will make a Russian soldier?
Yeah, drunk, stupid, and unmotivated.
Who when they will portray this soldier and those politics, how it will look like in movie?
Yeah. Like, when you talk about Nazi soldiers, like Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds, he speaks many languages, his culture. Of course, that also wasn't always the truth, but the stereotype is different. Like in Poland, people joke about Generał Denaturów. Yes, that's a stereotype, and it's true. And I also pity the guys who fight for Russia, for Putin, because they don't know what they are fighting for. Most of them were forced. They don't know where they are. They have bad equipment, but they need to be fought.
With equipment, they have not that bad equipment. The problem is that they don't know how to use it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's complete. Then coming back for feeling pity for a soldier like this, they rape. They kill. So when we talk about Russians and all this situation, something that we have to remember, personally, Putin rapes the woman or slaughters people. No. And the guy who is in the plane. So the biggest problem of our war, that's why we ask Europe, close the sky. Mm-hmm. On the land, that's kind of easy to kill those idiots.
Yeah.
But coming back on the sky, they're bombing every day. There's not even a day when there would be a couple of bombs on Kyiv, in a capital of city. A couple of cities are destroyed. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And this guy in the plane with a bomb, it's Putin.
No, it's some other person.
It's a human. It's a person.
Yeah.
It's a person. So, like, why we should pity them?
Well, I'm not saying about the war criminals. I'm talking about some guys who are just didn't even know that they entered Ukraine. And then also when I think about war, when I see I remember the scene from Saving Private Ryan, the first scene, the Normandy attack.
Yes.
And I thought, oh wow, these poor American soldiers, but also these poor German soldiers, they are the same and they need fight. They wouldn't, the people wouldn't fight each other, if they had to decide. It's Putin who makes them. But yeah, those who fight and those who die and those who commit crimes, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have done that. You should
coming back to the society, also something that we talk about, 86% of people in Russia, they voted for the war. So when we feel pity for them, we are feeling pity for 86% of society, which dropped a button, genocide Ukrainians. With rhetorics, I follow Russian rhetorics. At the beginning, that was a rescue.
Yeah.
But right now, we have completely, they are changed their rhetorics, and their rhetorics now are genocide rhetorics. How Ukrainians are wrong. That at the beginning, they were like, there's Nazis on the top. Mm-hmm. No, now they're saying that we all are Nazis. That's why we are fighting. That's why we should be killed and cleaned. And that's how their rhetorics look right now. So, and people like it. When you follow Russian bloggers who are like, oh my God, like seriously, Russian bloggers is like my favorite topic right now. I don't know how in future Russia will try to wash this shit all over themselves, because there's like a girl, a blogger, quite famous Russian blogger, a lot of followers with... Ukrainians are saying that there's rapes, and that's a crime, and there's a lot of rapes. She said, I don't believe that beautiful Russian soldiers, which are so popular in Russia, would rape a dirty Ukrainian.
Oh my God.
That's the rhetorics they have right now. It's not a rhetorics, and that's bloggers. People follow them. They're saying, oh yes, who would touch a Ukrainian woman? They are already making us... That's the thing that they're trying to do, like for many years in their speeches coming from Soviet Union, Russian Empire, whatever. They have this problem. It's not exactly the war for territories. It's actually a war for Kyiv and Kyiv-Lavra. They're fighting for it's like not like a children. I wouldn't compare it to children. It's like fighting for a ball in football. My ball, I'm the good one. They want this ball. They want this crown again on their head. That's so feeling pity for Russian. Yes, there's a percent of people, very like small. You cannot imagine how small it is. Like any Western or European can imagine this small percentage of people who are against. So I don't feel pity. I honestly don't feel pity. Most of them, they receive videos, and when people in Russia, they don't know.
Yeah, that's a very, very
it's
good
a joke.
point. Yeah. Well, one may say that there's a very huge propaganda in Russia, and that they don't have access to other things, but they could access other things if they wanted. There were some independent news. So it's, I agree with people who say that the Russians are brainwashed, but I don't agree completely. They also voted for Putin and they liked him. But whatever the beliefs, when someone, is burned alive in a tank, I'm not happy about it. Even if he should be burned because he's attacking. It's a tragedy. That's my opinion.
Somebody comes to your home. Like when people are thinking, and again, about sanctions, about poor people who are suffering, etc. Russians are not gonna go on the street and fight and vote against because somebody dies. They're so okay with those deaths.
Yeah.
Let's say in some sense, they want those deaths because death and blood, which makes Russian glorious in history. Like, they would go against because of poverty. Poverty and hunger, that's the only thing which will make them to think a bit. Like, let's say, war is happening, receiving videos. Most of them, like, they have internet. I'm sorry, 21st century. You have VPN, and you know, and you know how to use VPN. Okay, let's don't touch some weird lady, someone in Murmansk. Like, I'm sure your listeners don't even know where's Murmansk. Actually, Murmansk looks right now like Ukraine after the war. That's the glory of the Russia. No, seriously, you can put a photo how Murmansk looks like. So Putin didn't only destroy Ukraine, he wouldn't destroy Ukraine, actually, with the consequences about the war. Ukraine is a huge country, a bit diverse in a language sense, in a cultural sense. Like, we like to fight with against each other. Kyiv doesn't like Lviv, Lviv doesn't like Kyiv. We like to complain about this. Our cars are better, blah, blah, blah. My language is better. It's our job, but we like to do that. We enjoy our time. So it was diverse. I've never seen Ukraine and never thought that everyone will be together. After this war, we wouldn't have that diversity anymore. We will be, even with corruption, I think he kind of fixed corruption case, values case, and something that we are fighting and probably hard to understand for West. We are having a war of values. We're having a war of political, economical, and human values. And he attacked us because we start having values. We all remember Soviet Union. We studied it well. We don't want it back. We want to have our human rights. We want to have our political rights. We want to do that. We want to live as a civilization because we are a civilization. We are not some garden, like Russia, most of the story, like, it's really difficult to call it a garden. Even when we talk about the Great Russia, it's only 1.1 of the world economy. It's half of the world and 1.1 economy. Like, you get a bad leader. I'm really sorry. If we would make Russia touristic, we can make it richer. I'm not even talking about what kind of supplies they have. So yes, that's we are fighting not to live in this uncivilized, barbarian way as they want us to live. Like, dirty alcoholic bastard is coming to your home and start destroying this. Who will like that? Like, seriously, it's really difficult. And it's not like some attractive, nice person is coming to your home and start fixing things. I would love if some attractive person will come and start cleaning at my home. That would be a cool thing. But instead, some idiot, drunk, again, comes to your home, start destroying everything and saying, we have to live in this drunk, bad way because, I don't know, Piotr the Great decided. I actually don't share Russian love to Piotr the Great. I honestly don't understand why they love him so much. He made slavery much worse.
I don't know too much, in fact, about Russian history. And I don't care if he was a good Tsar or not. Fuck them. I'm sorry, but I'm really, really extremely angry at Russians when I read about, Mariupol, about Mykolaiv, and about all the other places. And, when the war started, I started not being able to find words for it. Because, when I work in a corporation and when somebody doesn't meet the deadline, I say, this is a scandal. So when somebody invades another country, what words could I say? It's for a few days I was just unable to express how shocked I was. How were the first days? Are you able to talk about the first days or maybe even the first day of the invasion?
I'm still Ukrainian. Nothing can shut me up. That's the huge difference between us and Russians. We have freedom of speech, and historically we are incredibly talkative. We probably are most talkative Eastern Europeans. The first day was interesting, not interesting, it was weird. I woke up at 5 a.m. myself. I had a nightmare, to be honestly, and I'm preparing my coffee, taking a cigarette. So actually when my best friend texted me that I woke up because of strange noises. Kate, they are bombing us. I cannot explain what you feel. And in 5 minutes, I received another call, the message of my another friend. And she was close to Borispol, the place where they were bombing first. She said, I saw that. Kate, they're bombing us. Where is your family? That's how 5 morning of Ukrainian person starts. Then my cousin called me. Right now she's in Mexico. She went with her husband to the Mexico. So she's calling me and said, is that true? What is happening? She until the end, she didn't believe. Then I started calling my family. My mom said me that we're all right. We're packing. We are trying to organize. My family are the best prepared people from actually the ones we know. Because one day before that, I was talking with this my friend on the phone about all of that. I gave her instructions how you have to behave during the war. Mm-hmm. I studied history well, so you have some strategy understanding what's going to be next. I gave her the lecture what should be next, what she should be doing, and then she's saying, "Oh, I'm keeping money, but I want to order some sushi." I was like, "Dude, order the sushi. If war will happen and you didn't eat sushi, that's going to be a sad story." And she's like, yeah, true. And she ordered the sushi, and she's still talking about, like, when we talk about, she's like, good that I had a sushi this time.
Yeah.
About those, like, weird situation. Also, people behaved completely different way. I was 3 days frozen. I was, like, scared. Not scared. I was, like, frustrated. Yes, scared for your family. You don't fully understand what's happening. And then there's another thing. You cannot believe in it fully. So you feel like you're living in some shitty Netflix movie. So some idiot decided to make like Walking Dead. And you feel like you're part of that Walking Dead. That's the feeling. I was like, sometimes when you stop, you have a coffee and for 5 minutes you forget. You're waking up and you remember that it's happening. Mm-hmm. So first 3 days. On the third day, I accepted situation. Mm-hmm. And this is something that probably happens with a lot of Ukrainians right now. Yes, you feel guilt for being unsafe. So I started going volunteer because I couldn't eat or sleep because I didn't feel like I have a right to do that. Then I start, going to volunteering and organizing something that I'm organizing right now. But it's a hell.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the volunteer work and organizing the things. Could you tell me more about it, what you're doing?
Yes. We are sending supplies to Ukraine. With the case of most of world big organizations, as usually they do, they didn't behave well. So actually, right now, I feel like when I was like, I was donating in UNESCO that much. And now I think that I was donating 2 years. I have like actually even like a small card, like thank you for being that good donator. I feel like I was donating for someone's MacBook in Brussels. Mm-hmm. So still right now for me, Red Cross, when you send their 50s wallet, you're donating for some fancy guy who's sitting in Brussels and on their MacBook, like seriously, like it's the only thing that you feel. Yes, they do something, but it's something.
Yeah.
In the first year of the Ukrainian war in 2014, war was going strongly and we survived because of volunteers. Right now happens the same. You understand how war looks like. People need everything.
Yeah.
Clothes, I would say that they're less needed. Clothes are needed in Poland. Clothes are needed in Europe. Refugees are coming and they need to change clothes.
Yeah.
But when your city is bombed, the last thing you think is to wash your hair. The last thing you think is like, where should I get my bra? No, you don't really think about that. No. Dry food is important. Dry food as a canned food, as for example, pasta, something you can fastly cook, and something you can transport, because it's not perfect logistics of cooperation in a peaceful times. That's a crazy logistics of volunteers. So one car can be stuck somewhere for 2 days because they're waiting the way how they can get.
Yeah.
We don't have, Russians are always lying about their green passes.
Yeah,
they give a green pass and they're shooting this green pass. So the car is not like going this perfect green pass way as it should be. No, it doesn't work this way. Mm-hmm. From Mariupol, for example, they made a story of Leningrad. They didn't have supplies. They don't have food. They don't have water. They don't have anything. Yeah. With donating with money and donating with supplies, I prefer supplies. I prefer that sometimes it's difficult because, like, again, we are not Red Cross, who have a special person who will take a perfect car and go buy. Actually, we prefer like to get like from people that we can pack it and send it. So we want to do fast. Like person is struggling today. It's not like in 1 month, and still bureaucracy. Europe is well prepared for peaceful times, but it's not prepared for something that happens right now. The way you have to do the bureaucracy, I'm sorry, but the war will end. People will die. They want to eat like today, tomorrow. They don't want to eat in 2 weeks. So yes, food, dry food, actually tea, coffee, but don't bring like, this amazing Italian coffee. It's really difficult to cook it in the middle of the forest.
I'm sorry about
No. Sometimes, those fast coffees, they work with sending supplies. I had an Italian friend. The first day when I started collecting, that was like when all that started. I found a car that's supposed to take it to Ukraine. I asked my friends to bring supplies. Actually collected a lot. Then I understood that, yes, it's a one-day thing. And I went to Placu Trzech Krzyży. This is a foundation in where I volunteer and work. Now I feel like I work there and I volunteer in my normal job.
Yeah.
So I came there and I said that, yes, we're helping refugees, but now we need to send supplies to Ukraine. And they're like, good. Can you organize this? I said, yep, good. Let's continue working. Okay. That's how it works today. That's why those middle or small foundations, they're faster. We don't make workshop for next week, which we think what kind of pet food we will send to the zoo.
Yeah.
We decided now. Then because I'm originally from Ukraine, I have friends. Of course, I have friends. Now I have that many friends in Ukraine that I never had in my life. So I work alive. So there's a hospital which sends me a list of the things which are needed. And I'm sending it there. So medicine is also one of the most important things. Painkillers, first help, kits, all of that is, and there's all the lists are the same.
And what is the name of your organization? Could you say how people can contact you? And
the best way to contact actually us is to come on Placu Trzech Krzyży. And according to simple, understandable list, which is food, easy to transport, and medicine, to come to Placu Trzech Krzyży and start bringing us to us.
Where is it at Placu Trzech Krzyży?
We are in the church.
In the church,
yes,
okay.
So in the middle, in the Placu Krzyży. Originally, our foundation is our house, our house, because it's still, maybe in future we will negotiate the way we should translate it. But now. Okay.
Yes. Our home, yeah.
Our home. Which is Association Dar, and the place is called Pomóc. That's the story of this foundation, which is also quite interesting.
Yeah. Pomóc?
Pomóc.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
I will study history of that a bit later.
Okay.
Let me fix
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. One day I will ask them. So originally this organization is Belarus, and people... why they start working there? There was crisis in Belarus. We remember they have a crazy dictator. People had to run. Poland, a lot of Belarus refugees, and this organization started to help refugees in Poland. They started before that. They were fighting for human rights. Didn't win the war, as we know. They was fighting for human rights and liberties in Belarus. And particularly we, at the beginning, we decided, they were working with the Belarus refugees. But now, because of this dramatic situation, we have, let's say, Ukrainian department, which we're sending supplies. Of course, for refugees, we have 2 parts. We have a small part where refugees are coming and we need give them needed supplies. Usually they're a bit different from something, for example, oil. I don't send Ukrainian oil. It's still surprising. We're managing to do oil. We're a crazy country. We're really managing to do oil.
Yeah. By oil, you mean gasoline, yes?
Yes,
petrol. Yes. Yeah, okay.
No, not the petrol. Oil where you cook.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we are still imagining. And I've recently, one of my friends, they said we need to sell them some, because we need money for the army. Do you know, like, connections in Poland where we can sell oil? And I'm like, what?
They want to say oil abroad, export oil from Ukraine, yeah?
Yeah, and take
because
those
you have
money.
so much of it. Yeah.
No, we don't have so much of it.
Yeah, but enough.
But we needed, like, money for army. Economics still have to work. We cannot freeze our economic. So, yeah, we are like, who the fuck he attacked? I'm serious, like, who the fuck he attacked?
Yeah.
Also, there was another Ukrainian organization. There's 4 girls who are making sexy underwear for strippers and girls who are trying to attract their partners. They contact me and said, like, we want to donate. So you buy, like, every underwear that we sell, we want to give you, that you will send supplies. And I'm like, I love the idea, but I was like, would you put a postcard, like, when you sell, like, I've seen this underwear.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was like, why are you going to put a postcard inside that the money that you paid are going for Ukrainian army? She said, yeah, it's a great idea. I was like, so, yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of the OnlyFans influencers who have, like, you know, some special discounts or raise money. There was a Polish influencer who said that she's going to, if you pay her, I don't know, 10,000 zlotys or something like that, she would send you her feet, photos of her feet. And she raised a lot of money. And that was weird, but effective.
There were 2 Ukrainian girls who came as refugees. They suffered because they cannot help Ukraine. So they decided to sell their nudes. They earned $30,000 and send it to Ukrainian army. As something we've learned right now, that everyone have to do something that we know how to do.
Yeah.
And everything is helpful. Girls are making sexy underwear and they're donating to us.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Girls are sending their nudes. 2 students, refugees, decided that they're kind of dumb, but they have good bodies. That's benefited.
Yeah, everyone, you know, joins in. Everyone is together. That's amazing. You know, these are the colorful stories, but there are lots of impressive stories of how people are coming together and helping people like you. Do you have any time to rest during the week?
I think I'm on adrenaline, so sometimes I do. But resting is also, you don't fully rest because your thoughts are not those kind of thoughts you rest with. So, no, of course, sometimes I do rest. I even eat, which is like an interesting thing after the first week. After COVID, I wanted to lose weight. Worked well for me. Like, I wish in 1 month it was like wouldn't be going, but in 1 month I will be like the most anorexical Victoria's Secret model.
Oh my God.
There's benefits of that. So also when you work in a foundation, you get really physically well trained because of those boxes, of running all over. I feel like I have 6 packs now. Usually in the gym I need to train 6 packs at least 5 months. Yeah. Now 2 weeks, 6 packs. All is some strange Ukrainian genes who make me transformer. There's a war, 6 packs. So I didn't decide yet. In the future, I will talk with the doctor. How in 2 weeks I rise 6 packs.
Yeah, so I think it must be very, very, very difficult because on one hand you need to rest as a human being and because of your health, but on the other hand, you are so focused on what you're doing and on the importance of the things that you're doing that you cannot rest. And
I can rest. There's again 2 different situations. I'm in safe. So I think people like me have to do the most because we're mentally stable. Also important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we are mentally stable. Then we are here, and still world is dependent on media. So in the day when media will talk about William Smith, everyone will forget about Ukraine. We need to remind about the situation. And we also need to remind that it's not a war of Ukraine. It's a Europe war. It's like he's Poland, Finland, Sweden,
Yeah, Estonia.
Estonia, Baltic states.
Yeah,
and he's not going to stop. The day when Ukraine will lose, if we will lose, and I don't believe we're going to lose, like how we can lose. But in case we will lose, German thinks he's going to stop?
Yeah, of course he's not going to stop. And if he invades NATO countries, it will be not a Europe war, it would be a world war.
When I'm looking at German and like some of the European countries' behavior, I stop believing in NATO. I don't know. Seriously, I honestly don't know. I don't think Erdogan wants to be dictator like Putin, because Putin is a head of losers as a dictator. So, you want, like, even if you want to be a dictator, try to choose someone successful. Don't choose one of the worst ones. Even something that happens, like, let's say the war is started and the war is right now, he start panicking and we see it on the war. So at first they had logic, really bad one. So instead of bombing strategic things, they were like, oops, not here. So we bombed a Jewish cemetery. Amazing.
Idiocracy, yeah.
Yes. With words, what? Oops.
No.
Who is sitting there? Can you imagine actually people who are sitting with the nuclear weapon, like this button?
Yeah.
I believe that probably the people who work there, they're a bit smarter, but I don't believe that well.
Could you just make a list of things that if people now they are listening to us or watching us, they think, okay, I want to help, I want to donate. Mm-hmm. What should they bring?
They should bring first all types of dry food. Then a lot of things for diapers, food. Actually, pet food also needed right now. Not that among, but pet food is also really important. For cats, for dogs, doesn't matter. We have all of them. Medicine. For me, the most important is actually medicine. First, like everything which is connected with the first help, painkillers. So the most important and easier to get is a dry food, canned food, usually like meat, something that is easy to open and eat. From the food also coffee, tea, needed, no dry milk. It's not really needed for now. Mm-hmm. Not really bread. It's also not that incredibly needed. It's still working there a bit. So.
Yeah.
So yes, that's from the food, something that is easy to transport and can last for a while. From the farm, I would really ask farmers, because like we try to send potatoes, mm-hmm. and it worked so well, especially in Kyiv. When you bring to Kyiv, from Kyiv, you have a chance to send it to the places which mm-hmm. are needed. For example, Mariupol, Kharkiv, like Sumy, it's like the places you need. So also, if farmers will decide to help us with potatoes or something that is easy transport, that will be incredibly helpful. Hygienic stuff as tampons. Actually, tampons are also used by army, because with a gunshot, you can use the tampon. Pads, also important. Pads, women need it, and not only women. Soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, they don't take their shoes off their shoes for weeks. Mm-hmm. And when you put a pad inside, it doesn't get wet and so stressful. And it's, for example, pads is important. Hygienic stuff, they're not that needed, but of course they're needed. Toothpaste, things like this. Mm-hmm. Medicine, everything that is a first help, and painkillers. Kitanov, for example, in Poland, something everyone can buy is a Kitanov.
Kitanov?
Kitanov, yes.
I don't know what that is. Let me Google it.
It's a strongest painkiller without... That you
ketanol.
Ketanol. Yeah.
Ketanol. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's strong. Yeah.
It's strong. It's something that is needed. And yes.
Ketonal. Oh, ketonal.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about the medicine, because many drugs are prescription drugs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. People
prescription drugs we're dealing in our own way, but there's like everyday usage which are needed all the time is mm-hmm. actually easily things you can buy. Yeah. So for like antiseptics, mm-hmm. Painkillers, pills for your mental health. People are stressed, so Also, we need supplies, something that is really easy to buy, but something we need for doctors. Mm-hmm. For doctors, of course, we need like white clothes. We need first aid kits,
Okay.
bandages, and cotton. That's that you can bring if you cannot donate a lot of money. That's something you can easily buy and bring, and it's needed all the time. Needles for surgeries, it's also needed, and it's really cheap. It's like 30 groszy, but we need them a lot. So this is some supplies that will be incredibly helpful, and for people who love pet food. People are actually asking a lot about the pet food.
Yeah, I guess so.
When we open first help, everything you see there is needed, and is needed a lot. And of course, medicine, ibuprofen, painkiller, for cold wrecks, all those things, they're also needed. People are sitting in cold, they're getting, also they have fevers. So that's...
Yeah, and they're staying together, it's easy to get infected. And are there any things that people donate that are not needed?
Yes. Oh, actually also important from donation, underwear and socks.
Okay.
That's antiseptics. For surgery, you need it a lot. And like, actually, yes, people don't donate like new underwear, of course, and socks. Man and woman too. From the things that are not needed, people donating club clothes.
What clothes?
Clothes for club.
Ah, okay.
Shoes on heels. Suits.
You already started the story about your Italian friend who went to the shop, and you didn't finish that story. I want to ask about what are the stupid questions that people ask about the situation or about Ukraine.
Okay, my top ones, like from donation, when my Italian friend, he listened me well. Dry food, good. Something easy to cook, perfect. Carbonara. So he's calling me and saying, what kind of pasta would Ukrainian soldiers would prefer? And I'm like, fast cooked. And he's like, He wasn't fully satisfied with the question. But he was like, okay, we can continue with that. And another one, what kind of tomato, like tomato pasta I could buy for them that it will be suiting well, better? And I'm like, darling, it's a war.
Yeah. People
are just hungry. And they're like, you don't understand. They're suffering because of bombs and killing. I don't want them to suffer because of the pasta. Like, okay. He actually did. That was amazing of him. He brought boxes where he made prepared how it should be cooked in future. So there was parmigiani, pasta, tomato, like pasta, some spices. And I'm like, okay, but cool.
Yeah. Easier.
Thank you. Also, question from Italian. Why Ukraine just doesn't accept? Okay, Russians came, but if you wouldn't fight against, they wouldn't like kill you. And I'm like, I'm trying, and now you're trying to answer it in a polite way.
Yeah. Well, first of all, they would still kill you. You know, they would arrest people and kill them. So
actually, I was talking with my mom, and also and it's the way it is. Death on war is fast death. Under Russia, we will die slowly, but they will kill us anyway in a different way. They had a huge story and experience of doing that. Maybe they don't have a good experience in the war, but they have amazing experience in slowly killing people. So yes, it wouldn't help this, I don't know, just surround and everything is going to be fine. No, it will be just slow death in poverty of hunger and gulags.
Yeah.
So probably that's...
Deportations also, and arrests and torture and executions.
Yes. That will be just slow one.
Yeah.
So we have to win. We don't have any other option, unfortunately.
Yeah. Earlier when you said that there's a slight chance that you might lose, I thought that...
I didn't say, I just in case. I said hypothetically.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But it is, you're correct. It is a hypothesis that you may lose, but it is not possible that Russia may win. Because they would meet with such huge resistance, but while trying to win, they would do those awful things if they win, if they succeed in occupying Ukraine and, I don't know, killing Zelensky. So yeah, that's because the questions your friend asks you, and the one about why don't you just surrender because war is bad. These are things that come to mind because just don't fight and there wouldn't be battles, there wouldn't be bloodshed. But it doesn't work like that. First of all, of course, defending of your values, as you said, this is a war of values and moral values, human values. But from the very pragmatic point of view, they would still kill you. So I don't have words for that. So maybe, do you have any other weird questions asked by people?
Usually I receive them every day. Hard to remember what was the worst.
Yeah, okay, I'm no pressure. No pressure.
I would say that what kind of pasta they eat was like, actually there was another thing. I've asked one of my friends who's working in some, let's say, European governments. I've asked for help. When he said next week, I will definitely open this question on my workshop. And I'm like,
next year, maybe.
What are they paying you for? So I would say that usually top weirdest questions are from Italians. Of course, from Russians, even worse. When I was trying to talk with some of my Russian friends, there were some colleagues, etc. We know Russians, we speak this language, so unfortunately, sometimes we speak with Russians too. They're like, no, I don't fully believe that exactly this is happening. Like all world is saying you, world never liked Russia. And I'm like, have you ever asked why?
I saw a meme about Russia that it's I'm getting scared because I'm getting NATO countries are getting closer, and it was juxtaposed with a photo of Switzerland. I'm literally surrounded by NATO and I am not afraid at all.
That's actually the thing that they were like talking all the time about, like, yes, but Ukraine wants to be NATO. That's incredibly stressful. And then Putin's speeches. I think I didn't sleep the night because I was still stressed about his history classes that Ukraine was created by Lenin. And I'm like, he was older than Moscow.
Yeah.
In a couple of centuries. So, And anyway, wouldn't go deeply in the history of the bullshit that he told. I was feeling that, I was working as an English teacher. I was like, maybe I can be free history teacher for him. I'm okay. Like, definitely, I have good university's degree. I had good grades. I have good recommendations. I could give him history classes for free as a volunteer. Like, don't say this, like everything you've told. Like, I actually highly recommend for more feeling of absurdity just to watch his speech before he started the war. It's just a head of absurdity. I was talking with I think from all Russians I know, and unfortunately I know them a lot, only 3 guys have normal opinion about that. And one of them is kind of from Sweden. So he's half Swedish. So I think that part also worked. So usually these opinions are like, but, Ukraine historically was Russia. And I'm like, there was historically no you. Yeah. What's next? We will decide it like now just imagine after martial law and everything, Ukraine will be a successful country and we will be like, Russia was historically a forest. Let's go and make them a forest. What is this conversation about?
Yeah.
So yeah, like most of my friends, like the guys I was speaking, they didn't believe me. They didn't believe me. And I'm like, my parents are under bombs, but they're not bombed. And I'm like,
yeah.
So I was like, should I call you after everyone will die around me? And they were like, but you kind of have a history of shooting yourselves. And I'm like, what? And like, but in Donbass, you were like, this war was like you were killing each other. So you actually have a history of killing each other. And I'm like, dude, you're a doctor. Actually, I've made a joke for her because she works in one of the Moscow University as a human rights lawyer. And I'm like, I think you just lost your job. Human rights lawyer. And I was like, when you feel yourself useless, think that there's some guy who's studying international relations in Moscow University and some girl who is a professor in human rights.
Yeah, oh my God.
Can you never feel yourself useless? That's the top of useless.
Yes. Human rights, yeah, and also believing that the war in Donbass was a domestic war, civil war between Ukrainians. No,
we are like incredibly, like when I watch Russian news, I've never thought that we live in such great country. We make modified biological birds that are made, that's not a joke,
Really?
show it on TV, yes, which are gonna fly to Russia and bring special sicknesses. Also, I've seen, this bird thing that probably was my favorite. At the beginning, also Kadyrov, you know who's Kadyrov?
Yes.
Yes, Kadyrov decided to find, so he proposed money for head of Bandera.
Bandera?
Yes, Bandera.
Okay, so for the Polish viewers who don't know who Kadyrov is, he's the president of Chechnya. And Bandera was a national hero of Ukraine in, I don't know when he died, in 1950s or 1940s, yeah.
Complicated question about him as a national hero. But
of course.
But only thing we can say for sure, he's dead.
Yes, it's very complicated for Polish people. The name Bandera is not
Obviously.
a good name, but...
Anyway, it's just historical figure that we can talk about his heroism. But only thing we know that he's dead. So yes, about the huge Kadyrov army, which is hunting Bandera. That's, I think... I don't even know how to comment to that.
Have you seen the photograph of Kadyrov praying in Ukraine in a petrol station? But the petrol station is from a chain that does not operate in Ukraine. It only operates in Russia. So the photograph was taken in Russia.
Also, there was a situation when Putin was like, there was like a zombie people, like he was like making the speech with people, and that was like so bad, like Photoshop.
Yes,
you've seen this.
Yeah.
Also with Kadyrovцы, they've sent Kadyrov personal army. Those Kadyrovцы is actually his personal army.
Yeah.
They're sent to Ukraine with those glorious idea about how bloody and hard to kill they are. Ukrainians killed them same as with Russians. They didn't see any special differences in that. So actually Kadyrov is talking a lot, but he's not sending anyone.
Okay, let's change the subject to something else that you are doing, because you are also a writer who is collecting stories from people who are in Ukraine, right?
Yes, that's something I want to do. I'm talking with people who are surviving all of that, and I don't want to talk about myself as a writer, because I will write their stories in the way they describe it to me, in their emotion and in their views. And I want to collect them with photos, with everything what happened, and publish in the future. And even right now, I'm still trying to publish, because opinion about the war should be a bit changed in the West. It's not a war of ideology, or it's even hard to say that it's a war right now. It's a genocide. So when, let's say in some countries, people are just, having a cup of coffee and describing why this war happened, and statistics, some influence of sanctions, they should read a story. On the second week of the war, I've heard a story of the woman who told me how she was giving a birth under the bombs, and the hospital nursery where she was giving a birth, it doesn't exist anymore. How she, after giving a birth, took her child in her hands and ran to the bunker. She was sitting all night in the bunker. In the morning, she sat in the car and ran away. It was Kharkiv. So, yes, I think that when every person who is against sanctions because it will influence their pocket should read it and think. And in future, where this idea came from, I was studying Holocaust in university. I had Holocaust subjects. And when you open just the history book of the Holocaust, it doesn't feel the same way as you open the book and read the story of survivals.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because what is this century and we're coming to? We're saying that we value a human life. We don't value that much ideology. We do value ideology, but it's not about that. But, people who are saying that they value a human life shouldn't be that stressed about sanctions. Mm-hmm. Russians will still have food. It's not that.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they probably wouldn't have iPhone. Yes, they should feel the poverty to rebel. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way to make them rebel, unfortunately. Why should they rebel? They have a comfortable life. After Crimea, after annexation of Crimea, there was, huge happiness of Russia. And that's why actually this idiot decided to have a war because of some issues. And he decided to be a hero, special man again. Like with Crimea, it didn't work that easy. We prepared.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm collecting the stories of victims, and I want to write the way they see it. I want those stories not to be forgotten and lost in statistic. I don't want to open a magazine or in future some history book where I will read just numbers, how many people died in Mariupol. Yeah. Or we never put in statistic people who have been damaged, people who have been feared. We know what is like person in like here. Not all of us actually ever felt real fear in their life.
Yeah.
And those people are feeling this fear every second. They're feeling like when we talk about the fear, the worst fears are for your own life, from the illness and fear of your close family members or your people close to you. And most of people there, they physically feel this fear every second. So yes, I don't want those stories, this fear, those suffer to be lost in history and analysts. I've spread news from my friends, from the people I'm working, that people, first of all, is like, this is two things that you're doing. Sometimes people need to talk. They need a calm voice to talk with. And I always can be this calm voice. Then just imagine being, like, again, coming back to this woman, just imagine being a woman who survived this. She wants to be heard.
Yeah.
She is like, sometimes they're asking like, oh, Europe doesn't care again. And I'm like, no, we do care. We're working. No, you're not alone. Because also there's a fear of being alone, that you're left alone to be eaten by all this monster, this chaos and this machine. Or the woman that was like, I was having a story of the woman who was in Bucha. One of this, she ran away there with her child. Her husband is a soldier. She didn't have a connection with him for the last 5 days when she was talking with me. And while she was telling me a story, how she ran away, what was happening, I've heard her, so on TV, there was like, you're hearing TV and you don't hear the child, but she has a 6-year-old girl. And I hear from the young girl that on TV they said the number of dead children. And the girl is saying, that's good that they didn't kill me. You would be suffering. And when you fully realize, also I was talking with a woman which ran to West Ukraine. She didn't want to run, she wanted to stay. But one day, also her daughter said, they've heard the bomb and it was near. And she said that everything was shaking. And her daughter said like, I want this bomb to be in us. I want all this to end.
Oh my God! Yeah, I heard a story about Ukrainian children who came to Poland, and now they live in some flat in Warsaw. And whenever they hear a loud sound, they fall back to the walls because they are trained. And even now, after many days of being in Poland, they still have this habit of hiding because of the bombs, which is, again, I don't have words. It's so terrifying.
With this woman who I was talking about, whose girl said that good they didn't kill me because you would suffer because of that. Also, this woman was talking to me on the phone while she was driving. She needed some calm voice who will shortly say her what to do. And she put AirPods to her girl head that she wouldn't hear. And she's saying me, I see bodies, what I should do. I was like, hide the child. She cannot see this.
Yeah.
Like, put girl down. First of all, we don't know if they're going to shoot.
Yeah.
Put the girl down.
Yeah.
And girl knew why she did it.
Yes, it's a huge... Yeah, it will be a huge problem. Like you said before, not only the people who are killed, but also the psychology of people who saw, who witnessed death, who have their own traumas. Like, before the war in Ukraine started, I was thinking about many of my friends attend psychotherapy in Poland, and usually because their parents were not so good to them, and their parents were not so good to them because the grandparents were also not so good, and all the grandparents had some traumatizing stories during the Second World War. And it changed a lot, and it destroyed their personalities. And that's why partly that's why they were so bad. And there are going to be so many awful stories of people who were damaged by, not even killed, but damaged by the war. We usually, when we read on Wikipedia about the war, we read how many people were killed, how many people were injured, and that's it. But it's the whole society is influenced in a very, very bad way.
Lost Generation was already in history, actually one of the most great writers. About them, I don't know. For me, it's difficult to. I don't make more plans than in one. Like my maximum plan is like until Saturday, actually, or Sunday. Mm-hmm. I don't make more plans. I mean, I'm trying to do, but I don't know. Like, I think society, because of that, will change. Because even in Europe, people, especially in Poland, people also don't feel safe anymore. We, our generation, mostly of people who have been born in safe.
Yeah.
We have illusion of safety. We don't have this illusion anymore. Like, yes, people in Poland, they don't. I think why Polish people are the most helpful. Those are people who have a strong political memory, and they understood that was a pure illusion of, like, this safety, this civilization. It was just.
Yeah. It was unimaginable for me to just imagine a bomb in the center of Warsaw, just bombing. I don't know the place that I live in being bombed. Mm-hmm. It was something that was not conceivable. Mm-hmm. And now sometimes I think it's not very possible. It's not very likely, especially not soon. But it may happen. It's a new thing. Actually,
I've seen a quite interesting video. It was made by a Polish person who actually made video graphics how Warsaw would look like, and I think it influenced. Like I've seen it on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I think when people it's not that much kilometers from Polish border, and then refugees are coming, and you're looking in their eyes, you hear the stories. You cannot feel this bubble anymore. So I think it will dramatically change. From perspective of therapists. Actually, I've never been raised in a family where they were putting me in a unicorn world. No. Mm-hmm. My parents talked with me about the war, and actually they were morally always preparing me for the war. Mm-hmm. That's a strange thing. And of course, not only like grandmothers, of course, but even parents were trying to... When I was a kid, I was this nice crying girl in the room, but they were saying, no, this way you're going to die. We will teach you how to survive. So go and beat that bully. Which probably, like, in some way, there was a times when I was thinking they did really hard job. Probably it was like too much. You grown up more like organized, cold person, like, because like for me also crying is showing a weakness, this kind of, when we talk to the therapist, like show your emotions, feel your emotions, you have a right for that. If I would have a right now for my emotions, I wouldn't work in this volunteering center. I would cry at home. So right now I'm thinking that, therapists have to rethink the way they have teaching children. So you have to. I was just recently thinking of this about if, let's pick up some incredibly peaceful European country. Belgium. Just imagining 26-year-old Belgium, I'm 26, is attacked. Yeah. What he's doing.
I have no idea.
Ukrainian is taking a gun.
Yeah.
Because mommy told me that crying is for pussies. Take a gun and make your job. Same with us. So actually with therapy, I definitely think that with therapy should be something different. Yes, emotions, values, parents, but have to be some toughness. Stop making a gelée of people.
Well, the good therapy doesn't makes people tough. And also, in order to sustain your mental health, you need to express emotions. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to choose to care for your mental health. It's quite possible that people who work a lot now will suffer from some psychological issues in the future. Or that the soldiers who would suffer from PTSD.
Of course.
But you probably are aware of that health toll that it's taking on you, but you choose to do it. I wanted to ask you about, Polish-Ukrainian relations. I'm not talking about the countries, I'm talking about the people. Do you think it's changing? Were Polish people prejudiced against Ukrainians before the war? And are they now less prejudiced or more prejudiced?
I should ask you. I would say that Polish-Ukrainian it's like we have both stereotypes about each other, but it happens even with neighbors. Come on. You have stereotypes with guys who are like from Warsaw and Krakow. Come on, we didn't talk about Ukraine. We have stereotypes. For example, I've heard some random stories about Polish people being aggressive towards Ukrainian. Personally, me, never faced it. Yes, people are telling me bad things, but come on, we're Eastern Europe. It's like it's the language we speak. It's okay. I wouldn't be hurted because of that. Sometimes when you're in a bad mood, it does hurt you when they're saying, like, go back to your home. You're like, no, I have a good salary. But next time, like, maybe in future I will move to a place with a better salary. And I was like, so no, of course, they're like, I've heard that. But again, I've heard that Ukrainian women are sluts. But the same thing we say in Kiev about Polish girls. So,
Yeah?
Yes, actually, once my grandmother, she told me, what is, in Soviet Union, they were telling that, what is Warsaw? Bicycles, chewing gums, and horse.
Bicycles?
Bicycles, yeah. They thought that everyone are in bicycle in Warsaw during Soviet Union. That was like their imagination about that.
That's weird. I'm sorry that I'm not surprised about horse and chewing gum.
It was Soviet Union. Come on, chewing gum. It was incredibly important, and only Polish people had it. We were like, rich bitches.
Yeah, maybe some East Germans probably. I don't know.
Oh no, that's too much. Come on, like seriously, that's too much for us. I would say we weren't Ukrainians before this. We were as an immigrants from the third country, which sometimes are COs, which is annoying. I think like before Polish people preferred, workers on strawberries of Ukrainians than Ukrainians who have a good job. Yeah. It kind of annoys. So like I remember from being, a female, I downloaded Tinder, then I deleted it and took 2 cats and therapist after that. I'm not going to probably take a therapist after the war, but after the Tinder, I definitely needed a therapist. So when you're going on a date with some nationalistic guy, it happens with everyone. And you're saying that, I have a job, like, you're still living with mom. Oh, okay. I owe an apartment.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're coming and taking our jobs. And I'm like, that's true. Sorry, guy. Yeah. I think that Polish people were a bit less prejudiced about Ukraine. Young Polish people a bit less prejudiced against Ukrainians than, like Indians or black people. Okay, that's again, Polish people are just as Eastern Europeans. Yeah. We're just mean. It's okay. When people, for example, asking me, oh my God, you're Ukrainian, probably you feel a lot of like people are behaving mean towards you. And I'm like, I'm from Kyiv. We behave mean towards each other. I don't feel anything special. Like it does, like at least in Poland, they have a reason to hate me. It's the way we communicate. Right now, of course, because it's like a different, for example, like for some places in US, Ukrainians, some are aliens, some Eastern weird like a thing, and they probably just 1 year ago learned that there is a country as Ukraine. So anyway, but for Polish people, Ukraine is not just a country on the map. It's names. It's your friends, it's your colleagues, it's your ex-girlfriend, it's your ex-boyfriend. It also, Ukraine has a human face. Yeah. So I think that's why for Polish people, it's more emotional because you go to, let's say, to the shop and you will find Ukrainian woman, which you go every time to the shop and you see that girl. You have friends. We're like incredibly connected. Yeah. It's not something like far and misunderstanding. What is it? And of course, when it's with names and with faces, it's not something political. It's something purely emotional. And then when I live in Warsaw comparing to Ukraine, it's like in mentality, we have a lot of similarities. That's why, for example, I'm not so sad when Polish people are like, fucking immigrant. And I'm like, I am.
Yeah.
Thanks for a good rose.
You told me about the stereotypes about Poland from the Soviet times. Are there any stereotypes, like, some contemporary stereotypes about Polish people and Poland?
I'm originally from Kiev. In Kiev, not really.
Yeah.
Nothing special. I would say religious. Yes, people are talking about that Polish people are religious, but I wouldn't say that it's in some dramatical way.
Yeah.
We have much more prejudice against Turkish people, everyone else. But with Poland, surprisingly, having such strong connection, cannot think of any specific one. We want to argue. We are countries with a free speech. So, of course, we are going to argue. And usually our arguments, they never went to the conflict for past. So when you think of independent Poland and Ukraine, there was no real strong conflicts. We have historical negotiations about Bandera, let's say. Mm-hmm. But in Ukraine, we also have issues with Bandera. So, it's and actually even understanding, I was talking with some people who work there, and they were telling me a story. They caught Russian soldiers, and they're asking, why did you fucking came here? And they're saying, fighting against Banderovцы. Mm-hmm. And they're asking, who are Banderovцы? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, good, okay, you're going outside. Who do you shoot? How do you understand that it's a normal Russian guy and who's Banderovets? How do you get it? Tell us, because we don't know too. We've learned those facts from you. We don't fucking clue who are those people. And he's like, it's Nazis. And he's like, what is connection Nazis Banderas? No, that's too deep. Okay, so those kind of things. Also, there's I've heard of soldiers that were being caught. They're from some deep, dark Russian villages, like most of Russia, which they went for a contract because they told you can come and steal. Also, I've heard one, let's say, conversation. Mom, they have roads in villages. They're not that poor as we are. Mm-hmm. After this, you definitely have to check some Russian cities like Murmansk. Looks same as Kharkiv. So, everywhere where Russians looks probably the same. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kateryna,
for
the interview. It was very nice to talk to you about not such a pleasant subject. Thank you very much. And if you want to help with the Kateryna organization, go to Placu Trzech Krzyży, to the church, and you can donate things that we talked about before. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the listeners.